G'day guys, Matt here from Not in the Manual. Today I just wanted to do a video to let you know I'm selling my Model 3. So no, it's not clickbait. I am actually selling it. Well, I'm actually trading it in. I'm trading up to a Model Y. So I thought I'd make this video to explain to you why I'm doing that. Probably for the same reason that a lot of other people are doing it. And I guess I'm jumping on the bandwagon and doing it now, but now just felt like a really good time to be doing it. And in regards to price and then age of this car and with what's coming up. So I want to talk about that, and then I want to talk about a few things with this car and talk about some of the benefits and maybe some things to look out for when you're buying one of these cars secondhand. So this car is a 2021 Model 3 SR Plus. So that's what they used to call them back before they started calling them rear-wheel drive. At the time, they'd been coming out of the Shanghai factory for 6 months or so. So there was some unknowns there. It had this new battery technology, the LFP battery. Yeah, it was a bit of a risk, but I took it for a drive and I was so impressed with the build quality because Tesla wasn't on my radar to buy because I really had this negative attitude towards Tesla. As far as build quality went, you know, at the time Tesla reduced their price. I've been through this in other videos. Tesla reduced the price of this car by a lot. So I thought, look, I better just go and give them a chance, go and take one for a test drive. So I went and drove one and I was so impressed that I ordered one the next day. The build quality was so much better. Yeah, it was just everything was lined up on the car. The car drove nice. I mean, I had driven a long range Model 3 before that, a US built one. And I mean, that car didn't have many kilometers on it, but it just felt shocking. Things were loose. The body panels, you walk around the outside of and I thought, how did someone spend so much money on this car? But I did love the fact that it was an electric vehicle and I knew that their tech was great and that they were super efficient. These cars are just the best cars you can buy. They're so far ahead of everyone. And that's when people start really looking seriously at buying an electric car. That's why Tesla sells so many cars. They are just simple, super efficient, reliable, and they've got a great supercharging network that if you do happen to do a long road trip, it just gives you some peace of mind that that is not going to be too difficult. And this car has lived up to all of that. I've been so happy with this car. I can take or leave autopilot sometimes. And I've got the car on autopilot while I'm doing this video here now in this traffic. And it has good and bad days doing this. And that's not so much this model car. All the cars are the same. And what I'm actually hoping for is the Model Y, having the cameras here and even the pillar cameras sitting at a higher height. I'm hoping they can see past the cars a little bit better, and I'm hoping even if it's just a little bit better, if it's a little bit better at braking or whatever, looking at cars down. So you can see it has a pretty good view, and that's where this preview here, people say, what's that preview good for? Well, look, it gives you an idea of what the car's seeing. Even though it's reading this speed sign incorrectly, 40 when it's a 70 km/h zone, there are some signs here in Australia that are really going to challenge full self-driving when it comes out. It's challenging for autopilot now. So yeah, it's been a fantastic car, and I can take or leave those features, but the Model Y is going to be pretty much the same as far as tech goes. It's going to have a better computer here for the media side of things, the media control, the MCU. It's going to have the MCU 3 with the Ryzen chip. So that's going to be a lot faster. The infotainment's going to be a lot faster. And that sometimes this one can be a bit laggy, but this is actually so much better than any of the infotainments I've had in any car I've owned. So even still, that's great. I've been offered a pretty low trade-in price, but that's something that I've sort of had to weigh up and think, well, my Model Y got delayed. So initially I didn't accept the trade-in. I thought, no, I'm just going to sell the car privately. Then my Model Y started getting delayed, and then I actually got some pretty good discounts while I had the Model Y on order. So I ordered the Model Y back in May, And so it's going to be a May build car, the same as this car was in May 2021. But it's been a much longer delivery, so I'm getting the full Tesla experience this time. I'm getting a delayed delivery, and that's what a lot of people end up experiencing. So getting the full experience, but I'm driving around in a great car while I'm waiting, so that's no problem. I think if it was my first Tesla, yeah, I'd be really wanting to get the car, and it'd be much harder to wait. But I'm finding this wait pretty easy because, yeah, as I said, I'm already in a great car. So yeah, I've got that on order, and the price has come down almost $5,000 since I ordered it. So my trade-in price started to look a little bit more attractive. And then as the Model 3 especially came down a lot in price. So that really hit the second-hand car market for Teslas. So the price came down. Now, if I sold this car privately, I think I'd maybe get $5,000 more or so what they're offering, and I'll get into that later, maybe, or even maybe once I've got the Model Y, I'll tell you all the prices and stuff then, because I'm still dealing with the fact of accepting a lot less money. But anyway, I'm trading it in with Tesla, and that's just going to be much easier for me. I've got a lot on my plate at the moment, and I'm just not in the right headspace to just try and sell a car privately. So I'm willing to take the hit on the price just to save me all that trouble. And I'm sure this car would sell reasonably easy, but I just don't. I just want to be able to drive this car down on the day, leave it, and then just come and home in my Model Y and just have that as a nice smooth transition experience. I've sold cars privately many times, and it's not a fun experience from my point of view. So I wanted to avoid that, so I'm trading the car in. The reasons I'm upgrading from the Model 3 is probably the same as most people. It's to get more storage space, it's to have that taller ride height, and just to have more comfort for the rear passengers. So this Model 3, I'm 6'2", I can get very comfortable in this, but you're sitting on the floor. And that's something I found very difficult to get used to. The passenger has a lot of room as well. And it's actually quite surprising when you get in the Model 3, because it isn't a big car, but you get in here and it's really roomy for the driver. But when you get into the back, the rear seats, you just don't have that much room, and it is pretty small. And I've got 3 teenage kids, and it is super squishy in the back. Now, the main reason for that, the Model Y isn't dramatically wider for the rear seat, but the main reason the Model 3 is uncomfortable for that middle passenger is because the outer two ones they have been made to be more comfortable. So they have like a bucket type seat. The bolsters actually come round on an angle, and they push the outer two passengers into the person in the middle. So they're squishing you away from the edge of the car and trying to make you comfortable and have that seat wrap around you, but all at the expense of that middle passenger. So that makes it really difficult, and legroom isn't the greatest either. It's not too bad, but it's not the greatest for an adult. So especially when you've got me sitting in the driver's seat, I often have to move my seat forward to be uncomfortable to give the rear passengers space. So with the Model Y, that will have a lot more leg room. It is a fraction wider, but having that flat bench seat and the flat back on the seats allows those outer passengers to give the middle person a bit more space. So that's going to give a lot more room. Then we move into the practicalities. So having a hatchback instead of a sedan gives you that bigger opening to put things into the back. Now, I cart my bike around, I cart a lot of things around, I'll be picking things up for work, and the sedan just gives you this tiny little opening. Now, the boot space in a Model 3 is actually quite big. We crammed all these suitcases and all the gear for a road trip recently, and we did manage to fit quite a lot of gear in there, but having that restricted space going vertically in the boot is really difficult. It really limits how you can arrange things in there as well. So if you've got some oddly shaped things with suitcases and bags and things like that, it can be really difficult to pack efficiently. So you end up having to either run a roof box and then you start getting into aerodynamic issues and drag and things there. But so the Model Y is just going to, it's got that SUV liftgate, and it's much easier to put things in there. And it gives me the option of putting my bike in the back of the car, which I used to do a lot. Running it on the roof racks, you've got the risk of driving into a garage and forgetting to take the bike off the roof. And that would be pretty tragic on this car with a glass roof. And then when you run a tow bar on the car and a bike rack, you're then blocking a lot of the sensors and cameras. So both of those methods of carting a bike have their difficulties. So often, a lot of the time, I'm going to just meet mates for a ride. I might go up the coast along the motorway, and it'd be nice to be able to just throw the bike in the back of the car, and the Model Y is going to make that a lot easier for me. And I know these are little first world problems, but yeah, I think just having that ease of access. Then we move into the actual amount of storage space. With the Model Y, you're getting almost 4 times the amount of storage space. So the front becomes a usable space. In the Model 3, it's not usable. I put charging cables in there, and even that's a stretch to have all that fitting. So there's not much space. Now, I didn't bother fitting a power frunk on the front of this car because I just don't use the frunk much at all. So it's there, it's really just charging cables. So with the Model Y, that'll be much more usable. Putting smelly takeaway in when you go to get takeaway food and things like that. So I will be doing a video on fitting a power frunk to the Model Y. You know, that'll be fun to do. And we'll take I was going to do a video with this car where I take the frunk out and we have a look what's underneath. But the Model Y is pretty much the same. So what I'll do is save that for that video. When I take the frunk out there, I might include it in that video or do it as a separate one, just looking at all the components that are underneath that frunk. So we'll look at the HVAC system and all the other things under there and show how compact and well designed that is. I'll show you where the battery is. I've got the 12 volt lead acid battery in this car. It's at the 2-year mark, and that's when a lot of the lead acid batteries start going in these cars. So that's always in the back of your mind, that the 12 volt battery is going to cause you a problem. That'll be nice to move to the Model Y and get the 16 volt LFP battery, low voltage battery in that car. I will be getting the big HEPA filter in the front of the car. Now the filtration in the Model 3 is actually quite good. You've got the filters in underneath the console here that you can change, and I'm hoping to do a video on that before I get rid of this car as well. I've got some new filters to go in here, and I'm at the 2-year mark, which is when they recommend you replace it. So we'll replace them, have a look how dirty and smelly they are. But there is good filtration in this car anyway. But the Model Y adds a big HEPA filter in under the bonnet in the front of the car. So giving you that more surface area HEPA filtration, larger surface area, and to have that more capable filtration. So I'm looking forward to that, and that gives you the bioweapon defense mode, which is basically just going from fresh air to recirculate through that filter. Yeah, that would be great. But yeah, you're getting all that usable space in the Model Y, a lot more storage, and I think just that alone is almost a reason to upgrade, especially if you've got a big family to cart around. And so with 3 kids, definitely the Model Y is going to be a big advantage and a bit of a life changer for space. So that would be great. The other thing you get with the Model Y is you get the premium sound system as standard. So even the base Model Y, you get that premium sound system with the amplifier and the subwoofer. So I'm looking forward to the better sound quality in the car. The Model 3 still has a pretty good sound system. You know, I'm just looking forward to that better quality in the Model Y. And that just comes as standard. You also get the ambient lighting, the footwell lighting, and I've come from cars that had that, and it's just nice to have that footwell area lit up at night when you get in the car, or if you were to drop something, or you're looking for something. Even now in the daytime, looking down into that footwell, it's so dark. So it'll be nice to have some ambient lighting there. So you can fit some aftermarket things, but I never bothered with this car. It'd be nice to have that with the Model Y. So there's a number of reasons there why I'm upgrading, and it was just right timing for me financially, and as I think the changeover cost between this car and the Model Y now is probably as small as it's going to be at any stage, or I feel like that's the right time. So anyway, that's why I'm doing it there. The Model Y I've ordered, so I got it with the 20-inch wheels. I went to the 20-inch induction wheels because I just think they're nice looking wheels, and you get the better tires as well. So I don't want the hand-cooked tires. They've had a lot of bad reviews in the 19-inch wheels with the Gemini wheel covers. I don't like the look of those wheels at all, and I just thought, look, I've put up with the wheel covers on this car for so long. I would just love to have some nice mag wheels on the Model Y. So I went for those bigger wheels. I get the better tires. I get the Michelin Pilot Sport EV tire. And so that is an EV specific tire as well, and I've heard a lot of good reports on that. So the Michelin Pilot Sport 4s that this car comes with are actually good tires as well. It's just they're super expensive to have Tesla replace them. And that's why I put the Michelin E-Primacy tires on this car, and they've been a great tire, and I'm going to try and squeeze in a review of those tires before I trade this in a few weeks' time. And I've been really, really impressed with those tires. So they're a good alternative to the Michelin Pilot Sport 4s. So they're designed for EVs, and they have a lot of features for EVs there. They're a very efficient tire, but they are more of a comfort touring type tire than the sportier Pilot Sport 4 tires. So you're going to get a bit more comfort, and I think a lot of people are going to appreciate this tire more than the Pilot Sport 4. I've been pretty impressed with it. So yeah, I got the bigger wheels on the Model Y, and I went for the silver color. The black on this car, I chose black because I like black cars, but the black in this car is just a very solid black, and I don't know, it just feels like one of those hire cars you get to the airport. It is black. There's no metallic in it. Whenever I've had black cars in the past, they've always had like a metallic or a mica to finish to them, and I think that really it makes the black look much nicer. Just to have a black, solid flat black, I don't know. I regret getting the black car. It looks great when it's really, really clean and polished, but other than that, I haven't been happy with that color. So I've gone for the midnight silver with the Model Y. So that cost extra as well. So the paint and the wheels took me over the threshold for the rebate here in New South Wales as well. But look, I live with that. When I ordered the car, I wasn't going to be getting the rebate anyway, and I've saved almost $5,000 on the Model Y since I had it on order anyway. So look, I'm just going to live with it and move on and not worry too much about that. So I'll be pretty happy once I'm in the Model Y, and in a couple of months' time I'm going to forget all that and just enjoy the car. So that's not a big deal. So that's what I've got coming. I went for the black interior. I don't really like the white interior, the look of it. It's for no other reason other than the look. I think it's a bit glary, and getting the white trim here on the dash, I think just would glare up on the windscreen more than this one does. So I wasn't looking forward to that. And yeah, I guess a few pointers on this car. I'll just give you some of the things with this car. If you're looking at buying one of these early 2021 models, they have the 55 kilowatt hour battery. So this was the first LFP battery by CATL that Tesla used in the Shanghai built cars. I think it's what they call a unicorn car. So it has a slightly smaller battery than the car that was made later in 2021, or the 2022 model. That has a 60 kilowatt hour battery. But there are some other differences as well. So this car has the 3D6 motor, and it's the same motor used in the Performance Model 3, and it has extra power. Now I've verified that this motor is in my car. On the rear left-hand side, if you take the wheel off, You can get in there and read the sticker on the side of the motor, and I'll overlay a picture of that now so you can see that this is the 3D6 motor. Now if you look in the owner's manual for China, in the English version, they have a table there of the different motors used out of the Shanghai factory. And you can see there definitely the 3D6 is 220 kilowatt. It's the most powerful motor that they put in the Model 3, and it's used in the rear of the Performance Model 3. You'll also see there the 3D7 motor. Now that's what's going to be in my new Model Y, but it's also what they started using when they moved to the 60 kilowatt hour in the Model 3. I think that was late 2022, late 2021 or early 2022. They started doing that. So the Model Y and the Model 3 standard range rear wheel drive have the same motor in them, which is the 3D7. So that's the 190 kilowatt as opposed to the 220 kilowatt motor that's in this car. So I've been able to, with Scan My Tesla, look at the power going to that motor. I haven't been able to get a screenshot of it because it doesn't do it all the time, but I have seen peak power at 239 kilowatts. So that 220 kilowatts must just be a nominal power rating. And the 190 I know does go over 190 kilowatts in videos I've seen, but I'll verify that when I get my new Model Y. We'll look at the peak power and see what that's like. Well, I've got a screenshot here. You'll see that the best I've been able to screenshot is 231 kilowatts. So you can see there that it's putting a lot of power to that rear motor, and this car has pretty good performance. The rated 0 to 100 time is 5.6 seconds. The best I've been able to do on a nice flat road, if you can find it, and with a good speed limit, so that you're not breaking the speed limit to do a 0 to 100 test. That can be quite difficult to find in a big city, somewhere to do that legally. So I managed to find a place, and I did test after test after test. I even went back with different states of charge. The best I could get was 5.8 seconds with this car. So the published rating for the new version of the Model 3 rear wheel drive is 6.1 seconds. So I'd imagine that's going to be around 6.1, 6.2. So just that little difference does make this car feel a bit more sporty, and you do get that performance feel with this car. So this would be quite a good car to get second hand. So you've got the LFP battery, and it's got the 55 kilowatt hour battery, but that's more than enough capacity, more than enough range. And you're getting that, it's got that performance motor, so that's going to be I'm sure it's got better cooling, and I'm sure it's got some things there that are there designed to last in the performance model. So this car not really pushing it as hard as a performance would, I think, is probably going to be a much more robust power unit to have in your car long term. So this would be the car to look out for. Now, the other thing to consider if you live here in Sydney or just in New South Wales, this state actually has this car banned. It's classed as a performance vehicle. It's banned for provisional drivers. So here in New South Wales, or I think even in Australia in general, you have your learner's permit when you're 16 years old. You have that for 1 year. You can then sit a test for your full driver's license, and then once you pass that test, you're then on a provisional license for 2 years. And we have a restriction of what vehicle you can drive. Now this is why I couldn't keep the car in the family, because my kids won't be able to drive this car on their provisional licenses. So my eldest daughter is almost 19. So she is about to go into her second year of her provisional license. So she can't even drive this car. So it would be like the car just being unregistered, no insurance for that we call them P-platers. So they have the little P plates on the car, displayed on the car, to show they're a provisional licensed driver. So they can't drive these cars. In other states in Australia, it is legal for them to drive this car, and it's not a banned car, and it's more on the performance of the car than just a flat out ban. So in Queensland, where we just went recently on holidays, my daughter got to drive this car because in that state, it's based on the kilowatts per tonne. and this car comes in under that. So it's not a performance vehicle in that state, but in this state, it's just a flat out ban, and I think it's something to do with the 0 to 100 time. So all Teslas used to just be flat out banned for P-platers. And then when the Model Y came out, they then reassessed that. Now the Model Y rear wheel drive is fine for provisionals because that has a 6.8 second 0 to 100 time. And then also the 60 kilowatt hour Model 3 that came out, that also has a 6.1 second 0 to 100 time, and that is okay for provisional drivers. So the both rear wheel drive variants of the Model 3 and the Model Y are now legal for provisional drivers in New South Wales. They're not classed as a performance vehicle anymore, but the long range and the performance versions of both of those cars are still banned for provisional drivers. So that's something to just consider when you're looking at these cars secondhand. So this car has 37,500 kilometers on it. So that's what you're probably going to expect with this car, because they would have been sold during the pandemic. And like me, that really limited the road trips you were doing. That's still average of 20,000 kilometers a year, but you will be able to find these with lower kilometers for that reason. So as I mentioned before, I put new tires on this car, so that's something you're going to need to be looking at. And then they're also going to be at the 2-year mark, needing the battery and motor coolant checked, the cabin filters replaced, and that's really the extent of the servicing on this car. Oh, brake fluid probably needs to be checked as well at around this time. So the car isn't going to tell you to get that done, but that's just purely out of the manual. So I think that's something to consider as well. There's not going to be a huge cost involved with that. It's not like a major thing like a timing belt, a timing chain, or something like that with an ICE vehicle that you would be looking at. So guys, I think this video's gone on a lot longer than I wanted to. I've rambled on a little bit, but yeah, look, these cars are going to be these cars would be a pretty good buy for you secondhand, and I'm glad to be contributing to putting this car into the secondhand market and making EVs more affordable. And hopefully Tesla sell this for a pretty reasonable price once I trade it in. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. So guys, if you got any questions, pop them in the comments, and hopefully you got something out of this video. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next video.